Hey there, Boots Owen here. I posted a video previously about this little axle here. It's sheared in half. This is the driving side and this is the wheel side, so better probably look at it like this. As you sit on a bicycle, this is the right hand side and this is the left hand side. That's the wheel side and that's the driving side. And I need to make a new one, and I'm nearly there, doing it pretty much manually. I cut it to length in the lathe and then center drilled the hole. It's got an M6 tap, as deep as it needs to be. That was quite easy. Drill a 5mm hole, and once you've got a 5mm hole, tap it out to M6. Easy peasy. The wheel has this interesting hexagon hub bolted, bonded into it. This wheel's got a crack in it, which is apparently not an issue, that it's worked fine without it. The axle goes in and engages quite tightly with the hexagon hub, like so much so that I can't get it in by hand. It's a bit snug. So to be able to cut the hexagon faces, what I did was I got a V-block, a couple of V-blocks, set that up in it, and packed here with MDF or any really smooth flat timber, and just set it up to the level of the angle grinder as the blade just touches. And then I've been ever so slowly grinding away, and I'll show you a clip of that now. So you grind away until you end up with something that just about fits. This is the new one. And this one, I've made it a little bit looser because I'm not convinced that this will be the one I use, although typical style for me is to use this one forever and ever. So put that in, and it won't go home on its own. It won't go all the way in, but it's not as tight as the old one, which I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It might creak in service. The next bit I've got to do is fit this into this, which is the free hub off the sprocket side, and it's a bit weirder. It's quite worn out and quite loose, so I think I can deal with that just by filing it from now on. So I've taken most of it off with the grinder, but I've still got a couple of high spots there. But the old one, you can see it's completely worn away, and I don't think it's worn away. I think that's been cut off on the lathe to make it fit. It's a longer, so this is 24mm long, this broken off bit, so I've cut it to 24mm. I think the other side was about 12 or 10 or something like that. So I just need to start filing, and it's really, the critical bit is about trying to keep it centered, but we're about to fit in there. That bit's about to fit in. So I just need to go for it really and keep taking it away. I think it's got a slight taper on it, but not a, I don't know what you'd call it. I don't know what sort of taper it is. Handmade, basically. 8Freight bicycle. So I'm going to work away at filing it, and we'll work until we get a fit. So I've been grinding and removing, and I've got about 6 or 8mm left to go. It's not really tapering, I don't think. I can't really tell what sort of shape it is at all. I think this is quite well worn, and what I've been doing is putting this in as far as it'll go and then wiggling it, and there's quite a, I don't know, 2mm of play there, maybe something like that. Now that'll mean that this tugs in strange directions when it's under load, but I think what's happening is that the free hub is basically pooched. Now I don't know if that's a special free hub with the hex shaft on it. I suspect it isn't. I really don't know what sort of free hub it is. If you know, tell me about it in the comments, because I would buy a new one. It can't be that dear. But pushing it in, wiggling it, pulling it out, and wherever there's dirt, been grinding off the dirty bits, and you can see sometimes it scrapes and stuff, but yeah, just keep removing the dirt and eventually it should fit. That's my logic. So each time it feels a little bit tighter, a little bit further in. You can see it pulling dirt off the inside there. I should probably get a wire brush actually, because that would help. But you can see, maybe you could see there's like reflections on it and dirty patches, and it's a bit spot in the middle there of that face. Let's just keep grinding them away, and eventually it should fit. And I could hammer it on and just put the bolt in it, but I don't really want to do that yet. So I'll keep going, and it should fit eventually. You have to recognize that this is precision engineering. I was looking at this a bit more closely, and the hex, you can see, hopefully, the hex only goes down about, I don't know, 10 mil. So whatever this little plug here is, it's only going down about 10 mil. And I wonder, if you look at that, there's like a wavy insert here. I wonder if the if this thing here is just an insert that only goes down a little bit of the way. It could possibly be. I could try knocking this one out to see that it could be like a bridge between, or just a filler piece or something like that. So that one doesn't fit all the way in there. We're coming up on the taper at the end. I kind of made the taper a bit, I didn't grind all the taper away because I didn't want to lose it. I'm trying to make a part to fit an old part rather than making up a new part that would fit any part. So on this one here, without the center, you know, if you tried to drive on it, it would just spin because there's nothing to grip. But I'm guessing that these pieces in between the hex, so I'm guessing that these pieces in between the hex are just to fit within that circle then, you know, which I think is what's happening. So when I put this one on now, it's going up almost to the end of my cut, but here it's only got about 3 mil or something left to go. So if I hit it with the hammer, not even a hammer, if I hit it with the back of the brush to drive it in, I don't want to damage it. It's got about 2 mil maybe, or thereabouts, but it's coming up close on the step inside, and that was the washer that was on it. You can see it's just an aluminium washer made to fit. So if I try that in there, I suspect we're kind of home and dry at this point. And I'll build up the axle, I'll show it to you. Let's tighten this up if we can. I don't think there's been a screw into this thread yet because it's brand new. I can't, have to hold the axle to get it. So if I hold the axle, I need to hold, I could put it on the wheel, I guess. Not too worried about it for now. Right, that's as tight as it is for now. Then you have a bearing like that. Then you have a spacer like this. Then you have a bearing like this. Then you have another little spacer like that. That's the back end like that. I'm not sure, there is what would you call it, 2 mil of a gap, and that might, if I put an aluminium washer in there, that might do it. But we'll put the wheel on and see what happens next. It might be there. I've been at this for hours. That's all right, because that's fun. Just tap that in. I'd say that's close enough, you know. So it does sit, but it does sit back a bit. Now, if I was to make that fit tighter on this side, it's not going to. Oh right, we've got about 2 mil on this side as well. Everything's filthy. So I'll try and draw it in with, I have put the thread in this side to check this one previously. I've lost my Allen key. Oh, there it is. Let's see now if this will draw it in. That's as tight as it's going to go. Is the washer tight? The washer's tight. So you've got, yeah, we've got about 2 mil of play there. So maybe I need to deal with it on both sides a little bit more. It's not far off it though. It's a bit of a nightmare really, trying to make it fit. So if this was pulled in tighter, it would be up against the other side. We are talking 2 mil. And it's on a taper, you see, so 2 mil, it doesn't take much to pull it in. Right, I'll keep going and we get it right. I found a bolt with the shorter thread here, and that seems to be about right. I don't think it needs to be so tight. Like a mil maybe would make a difference and tighten everything up. I guess it would matter to the brake drums. If it was in too far, that it might bind on the brake drums. So I don't want to pull it in too far. I can always make it deeper later. The other side I think is right. We're talking, I've taken the bolts out, but we're talking a millimeter now of play. It's about a millimeter. So I think what I need to do is just strip it down and fit it to the bike. Quite pleased with that. A couple of hours work, maybe more faffing around on the lathe and stuff, boring out the holes, but you know, hobbies are a pleasure. Right, get it fit on the bike. The axle is built. Let's see how it goes together. Not entirely sure what to do here, so let's just put in a bearing like that. Then on the other side, I'm going to have to slide the axle in like this and catch it on the... Yeah, it looks like we're getting there. Okay, catch it on the sprocket. Call it a sprocket. So back that out, because what I've done is I've pop riveted on the derailleur hanger, and the two things don't really get along with one another. Now this is the screw that came with it, so I'll just bung that back in. Although I did find some other aluminium washers for M6, and I wonder should I put one of those on as well. Kind of think it can't hurt as a packer of sorts, but I don't know. That one's quite well worn, you see, so if I put another washer behind it, well, it'll be okay. This should all probably get a dose of Loctite and stuff like that. If I get this on, I can start threading the old chain and all. I want to just see if it rides. I'll have to pull some tires off a BMX or something outside. It's not going to be possible to tighten that until the wheel is on. So I'll put the spacer on for the wheel. So the spacer is quite well worn as well. I think my one on the other bike is a little bit fatter, so I wonder do I have a spacer similar. I'll have a look. So I've got a copper oil seal washer. I think I'll use that instead. It's pretty much the same size, a little bit bigger. It's pretty much the same size, a little bit bigger, but I think I'll just put both of them in. What about that? I'll put both of them in on that side and then offer the wheel up. Hopefully we'll just all go together. Now, so I had a longer Allen screw, but I'm going to go with this one, which is about 15 mil long. Over on this back side, you can't see it right now. It's still going in. I don't know what it's tightening against. Well, we'll leave it at that for now. I don't want to over tighten anything. So now I can tighten this side. I'd like to see if it's going on, because there's about, I don't know, 2 or 3 mil at the back of the derailleur. Not the derailleur, the sprocket. So it's a bit tight there. I don't know if it's binding on the... I don't know what it's binding on. The brakes seem to work. I think that's going to be good enough to get us going. And that doesn't wobble when it freewheels, which is good as well. So then derailleur, this one is covered in snots, so I'll bring it outside and give it a bit of a scrub with the wire brush, but I just want to put it together. It's all, this one's quite well past it. I'll need to order a couple of a new one anyways, so I'll clean it for now. So derailleur, looking good. Oh, we've got a bit of movement. So this bracket that the derailleur hanger sits on is it's meant to be bonded on with epoxy, and it had fallen off and it was loose, so I've just put 2 pop rivets in it that were also part of the design. But you're meant to bond it and then pop rivet it. I cleaned it up, but I haven't bonded it because I wanted to check if it works. So I don't think the derailleur is actually under much of a load in service. So we should be able to ride it as it is. We've got the chain back on. If I pedal it, it doesn't fall off, granted it's upside down. So I think I better get some tires onto it. So it's the following day and it's all back together, and I'm out where there's loads of traffic noise, so you'll have to bear with me. I'm going to take it for a spin on the road, but let's have a look over it first. Front wheel's on. I put a tyre on it that I just pulled off BMX. By the looks of things, I've put it on the wrong way around, which is what it is. I didn't check the bearings in that, but I've ordered new ones. In fact, I've ordered new ones for the other size 8Freight, so I don't know if they're even right. That's a blunder, but they're only a couple of quid each. And they'll come in handy on the other one eventually. Bottom bracket, I think, felt okay. And it still does. I've kind of covered up the name there a little bit. Put the saddle down right low. I've got this outrigger on, which does bash off everything. You know, that extra 2 inches there makes a difference, which you wouldn't think. Maybe you would. So we're missing the bar here. I've just pulled them off because they were in the way. And we need to get something in there and there and there. It's all right at the back. So we'll see if it works, really. It might. It's a shame that's broken. Before I go and ride it, some of the discussion in the comments from the first video about this bike are that maybe a bit of carbon fibre over it, like dowels through epoxy and carbon fibre, might be a better way to fix it. Where it won't work so well is here, but it's, you know, I'll have to figure that out. Just put a couple of little straps over it, see how it rides. If it rides crazy, then maybe I'll need to do something more than that, or maybe weld it, carbon fibre it afterwards to kind of add a little bit more strength to it. Andy said, one of the Andys said carbon fibre, the other Andy said put the triangles in that are on the other bike. I'm not sure if it's necessary because the other bike doesn't have this bar, so I guess we'll see. Let's go for a little spin and see how it goes. It appears to be riding just fine. I know the rim's cracked there. I've put it in quite soft in case it blew it apart, but it's riding just fine. We'll let all these vans go by, and then we'll have a look at the back. So looking at the back there, it does appear okay. It's handling just fine. It's handling all right, really. There's something wrong with the shifter there. It's not shifting at all. I suspect I'll be able to get something from another bike and just make it fit. I'll have to sort that out. So at the moment I'm stuck in the highest gear, which is a lot of work. The other peculiar thing about it is that I have my bike configured so that the handlebar stem rises backwards rather than forwards, and that makes it more of an upright sitting position. This one doesn't have that, so I'm stretching forward and the brakes are all way down, which is just a different riding position, and that can of course be modified. I'll probably do that. I'll put it through a few paces and go off some curbs and report back at the end. I didn't do much on it because it's particularly cold, but I couldn't feel anything appreciably like crazy on it. It feels a lot like my 8Freight. What I will say for that bigger brake on the front is that it actually stops really well. You know, kind of makes sense, but the other ones on the other bike are you know, 5 years without any new pads or anything, but they've got these old they're expanding drum pads inside, so they shouldn't really need anything. I didn't give that one a clean actually. I gave the back one a good clean up, and you know, it's holding up all right. I think I didn't, some of the, like that spoke there is just completely loose, but it shouldn't really matter because we're not running a load on at the moment. This fellow, that'll need to be bonded in place, so I think I'm going to get some epoxy, try and get all these guys, like that's almost back together there. Well, see, it would go back together if I could get a dowel in. I have some carbon fibre rods that might do it. Put them in, although an aluminium rod bonded in or any kind of rod would do it as long as it's not steel. And I could get that just reamed out, or even if I didn't and put it in a bit loose, it mightn't matter. You can see maybe that bar there is bent back a little bit that way. I don't know if it is or not. It really doesn't matter. Like the alignment, I'm not too fussed about that if the bike rides. It rides just fine, it's not clicking and rattling, so I think we're onto a winner here. Getting it off the ground just like that. The other thing I thought was I could just make it up out of wood. Make a box that becomes the frame and have it, you know, drilled through, because I'm going to have a box probably like the other one slanting from here down to here. You do need the base of the box here to drive the mechanism for the kickstand, so it's not a big deal really to actually just line the whole thing structurally with timber. It seems a bit bizarre, but you know, a piece of timber going between here and here, maybe what, 4 inches wide, a bit of plywood resting on this, and then just screwed through, and dowels and everything else. You could make it quite rigid. I don't know if it even needs to be so rigid, but I don't need to weld it is the conclusion. I've gone off on one about buying a TIG welder, and I think I need to wind it back in. I thought about soldering or brazing the aluminium, or doing gas welding on the aluminium, which is, you know, requires flux, and the issue is that you can't clean. I wouldn't be able to clean the inside to get the flux off, so the tubes could corrode from the inside out, which would be, you know, bad news. Wouldn't be a good thing. So brazing and soldering are out. TIG welding is in. I could pay someone to do it, but you know, people have commented that you're basically just going to stress the metal beside the weld, and then you're back to where you were before, so you end up just chasing the weld around the place. That's the weld there though that makes up this hoop, square hoop, but it didn't break at that point, so it looks like it's broken there a while ago and been cycled with like that, because it's got a wear mark there, possibly similarly there, don't know. I sheared off, it was sheared here and here, but I bent off and removed these guys. Looked like you could fit an epoxy dowel into the tube and then drive something down from above, like a big long screw to hold it together. I'm not against trying anything really, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be original. I guess welding it would be nice, but well, maybe I could do that first and pay someone to weld it. Oh, tricky. It's just there's a lot of, well, there's 10 joints to weld, so it's a bit of welding, you know. If I cleaned them all up first, I guess it wouldn't take so long for someone to have a go at it. If I cleaned off all of the paint and stuff around the welds, but it gets a bit fussy, you know, down here, because you've got to get right in there with the wire brush and clean it all out. Okay, I'm waffling. New 8Freight is it's past test number 1, and that is that it rides. So we'll get, I've ordered a new derailleur, a new cassette. I've ordered a new free hub as well. Probably won't fit this one, but it was a $5. There was a big sale on one of the big websites, and most of the stuff was out of stock, but they had one of those reduced from 30 or 40 quid or something, so I thought I'll get one, and I might be able to take the center out of this one and the bearings and all the other gubbins out of the new one and marry them up if I'm in a mood to do so, or I might just leave it like that because it's okay. I should get a bearing for this fellow in the center, but also, you know, it's okay. It's a little bit loose. Haven't ordered a new chain wheel for the front, but I could. Let's have a look at what they have on it. 7505 8/9 speed, 46 teeth. There it is. So 46 teeth for 8 to 9 speed chain, which is ideal for the back. I don't even remember what I have on here. Is it 9 or 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's got an 8 speed on it. That's like the other 8Freight. Maybe there's a clue in the name. 8 speed. I don't know. Hadn't thought of that before. So what I might do is turn this around to go this way, and that gives me 4 inches or even 5 inches of more relaxed riding. This guy, Sram X9, he's dead. It's just not turning at all. I don't know why. It's not doing anything. I might take it apart, but they're tricky old things, those guys. I wonder, could I get in there? Cable cover. Don't know, not right now. Brakes are fine, that's the main thing. That's the lever for the kickstand. It's a bit loose, but I have a feeling screwing that down would fix that. It's just wrapped up around the bottom bracket for now. I'm really pleased. It's working. We're halfway there. It's off the ground. Questions or comments, leave them below. What should I do next? Thanks for watching. See you later.